Well, there's one thing that the Cleveland Browns have a monopoly on. It's finding the wildest and wackiest and most ridiculously absurd and heartbreaking ways to lose football games. And we can add one to the list today, Megs, because 17-16, the Browns fall to the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, we're going to start with in the obvious place, but I don't know how many times we can keep coming back and being like, well, that's the craziest loss I've ever seen, because they continue to rewrite the script. The Browns defense gave up 7 yards of total offense in the second half, and they still found a way to lose because of fundamental problems. And as we heard all week, that the culture was different, all these different things. The culture that the Browns have been defined by for years of just losing in dramatic fashion and ripping the hearts out of their fans and not doing the fundamentals all came back to fruition, and that's the true culture of the Cleveland Browns.
It's horrible. It was horrible, man. It's up there with the loss to the Jets from a few years ago when Nick Chubb scored. When if he just goes down, they win the football game, and then guess what? Joe Flacco takes him down and scores. It's up there with that one, dude. That's as bad as it gets. 2 missed kicks, a 36-yarder. I can make a 36-yarder. I could go out right now, confidently make a 36.
Maybe they'll have open tryouts. You can give it a whirl.
I'm going to. For 36 yards.
They could sign those 2 guys that kicked Pat McAfee's kicking contest on the College Game Day.
Yeah, we'll take those guys. I mean, you could go out and kick a 36-yarder. I could go out. I mean, I try to give a benefit of the doubt to a lot of the players, man. But just make your freaking kicks, dude. Kickers all the time. I'm getting worked up right now. Make your kicks. Make your kicks. You got guys who are putting their life on the line on the offensive and defensive side of the football. You got Joel Bitonio getting thrown around like a rag doll all game long. You got Myles Garrett, car crashes against Joe Burrow, and you got Greg Newsome defending Jamar Chase, who's the best athlete in the entire NFL, and you got guys making big tackles. Carson Schlesinger flying around. For this game to come down to 2 missed kicks is asinine, and it's horrible. It's a horrible. Yeah. As bad as it gets, dude. It's just as bad of a loss as it gets, man. And it sucks that this. Well, and
if you make the PAT, it maybe goes to overtime at least.
It's a whole different game,
right? If you make the last kick, you arguably win the game. Now the Bengals got the ball back, and they obviously weren't trying to score there, so maybe they worked their way down the field. But the way the defense was playing, you like your chances if you have a lead for them to protect it. And listen, it didn't only come down to the kicks. I understand there was also the 2 critical interceptions at just terrible times, and the Browns had chances to sort of seize momentum in a game. Jerry Jeudy deflects off his hands, it gets intercepted. Cedric Tillman then on the last drive deflects off his hands, it gets intercepted. And listen, those are fundamentals too. And both those guys said after the game, listen, you got to catch it. It hit my hands. Doesn't matter if it was low, if it was high. If I can get my hands on it, I expect to catch it. And I think everyone appreciates the accountability in that regard. But even with those 2 interceptions, even with and here's the other thing, those are 2 fluky plays. And that was something Jerry also talked about after the game. He was like, how many times in a game do you see that same play happen twice where it deflects off a receiver's hands and it doesn't just fall incomplete? It takes a Herculean effort to intercept it from the DB. 2 times it happened in the same game. That might happen once in a game. 2 times in a game, it's a cosmic fluke. It did happen, yes, and those are problems. There was also Harold Fannin had a drop on a key 3rd down, and then it was followed up by a Jerry Jeudy drop. So Jerry had a couple drops today, and I'm not saying those didn't impact the result in the end because those are drives that stalled. But at the same time, man, this game ultimately did come down to leaving 4 points off the board when your offense at least got you in position to do it despite the turnovers, and the kicker couldn't deliver. And we all go back to the end of the preseason and say, did they make the right call on keeping Szmyt over Hopkins, even though he missed the PATs? And I think the bigger question in all this is, why the hell can't this franchise figure out the kicking spot? It's since Phil Dawson, they at least had the kicker figured out in the early 2000s. And then once Phil Dawson left, it's been kickers and quarterbacks have been the 2 things that have eluded this franchise. And it's been the 2 things that have arguably held them back the most from actually being a playoff Super Bowl contending team. You could argue that.
I don't know how that it's a perfect. What you said is absolutely perfect. I got my Browns as the Browns shirt on. Thank you, Junior, because the Browns today were the Browns. What you just said right there was is everything, dude. Why the Cleveland Browns cannot identify a kicker is insane. My dad is a little little removed from like the ins and outs of the Browns, and I got a text midway through the third quarter. Why did we cut Dustin Hopkins? And my response was because he's worse than this guy. And then this guy goes on to miss
the field goal,
a 34-yarder. And then the follow-up text was, "Are you sure about that?" Like, fair question. Absolutely a fair question. I don't. These guys are professional athletes. If you're a kicker, make your damn kicks. Make your damn kicks. It's not that hard to do. Go out and kick the ball through the uprights. I hope I get the opportunity to make a 36-yarder. I will put it right up the pipe, and it'll be in, and it'll be good. I hope I get the chance. I hope I do.
Yeah, I mean I think from like an emotional standpoint, like that's well said. And your text exchanges with your dad there is pretty funny. You know, I tweeted like when Szmyt made the field goal early in the game, the 45-yarder, I quote tweeted it when he missed the PAT, and I was just like, well, we'll always have this. Because it was like, hey, he got off to a great start. Same way Cade York got off to a great start, right? Makes a game-winning kick against the Panthers and Baker Mayfield. And then that all went downhill pretty quick too. And it's mind-numbing how this franchise continues to miss on that position. By the way, some of the kickers that they missed with have gone other places and actually had success. Oh, yeah. Greg Joseph, I think, had a pretty good career. Yeah. There's other examples that I can't think of off the top of my head. But, like, it's just wild to me that they continue to miss on that position along with the quarterback. And it's been the thing that's held them back the most. And it held them back massively today because they win this game with a better kicker.
Matter of fact, Riley Patterson got signed the other day, and I saw it pop up on my thing. Oh, former Brown. There we go. Chase McLaughlin is the kicker. Long-term
Chase
kicker.
McLaughlin, I think, is the other one I was thinking of. He's had a pretty good career.
Long-term kicker in Tampa. Him and Baker probably think back. They probably go win their football game like they did today and go crack open a bottle of wine and think back to their days in Cleveland. Like, that's what it's like. Yeah. It's a joke. It's an absolute
I think, because I don't want to spend the next 15 minutes or so, however long this is going to be, talking about just the kicking situation. But that was the big thing that stood out, obviously, today because it cost you the game the most of all. I'm at a loss of words there. But I think what also stunk about this one was that it spoiled what I thought overall was a very competitive football game from a very competitive Browns team. Yes. And I felt like if had the Browns pulled this out, even if they had lost and not that way, even if they lose with Joe Burrow on the field, and he sets his team up for a game-winning kick, I think Browns fans at least walk away like, yeah, that sucked. You lose on a game-winning field goal by the other team, but at least they showed life in this game. At least they pushed Joe Burrow and the Bengals to the brink and almost pulled it out, and they showed they were competitive. I mean, last year we're talking about a team that was lifeless. Yeah. And the apathy that sort of surrounded this franchise throughout most of last year, this felt like a team that people could be excited about. And part of that, too, was the youth movement. Like, Harold Fannin was I guess in the end, in terms of catches, Harold Fannin was the second leading receiver on the team. Dylan Sampson, the running back, the fifth-round pick, was the leading receiver on the team in terms of receptions. He had 8 of them, and he was targeted 8 times, caught all 8 for 64 yards. He was second in yards. Jerry Jeudy finished with the most yards at the end. He had that one catch on the final drive that really was just like them trying to make something happen. They were really going nowhere. He had 66 yards on 5 receptions, and Fannin finished with 63 yards on 7 receptions, 9 targets. But you look down this box score, and you see the rookies being heavily involved in the offense. And I wrote about that over at our new website with Roundtable, like the idea that there was a lot of reason, I think, to be excited about this game, win or lose, because you saw the guys that were supposed to step up, the guys that the Browns were leaning into, this rookie class. And I haven't even gotten to the defensive side of the ball yet, but this rookie class, and even like Isaiah Bond, the first 3 plays of the game were a run to Sampson, a pass to Fannin, and a screen to Isaiah Bond. The rookies had their impact on this game early, and then even like somebody like Cedric Tillman, year 3, Browns banked on him having a big year this year and being their number 2 wide receiver. He had a really good game. He had 5 catches, had the touchdown in the third quarter. Obviously, we know about the deflected pass off his hands, but like there was a lot, I think, of positive stuff that came out of this game that then just got completely overshadowed by the way that it all fell apart and they lost.
Yeah, it's a ton to like. Like, there's so much to like from this game. Joe Flacco threw for 300 yards or 290 yards. Like,
which he's like the only quarterback in since '99 that finds a way to do that with this franchise, which is funny. But anyway, continue.
But like, they played well enough to win the football game. And then, like you said, that should have been the takeaway from today. We should be on this show talking right now about how good the rookies are in a win in their first game. But instead, we're talking about a loss because we can't make a kick. But you're so right. Like there was a very good. The rookies were super positive. Like especially Harold Finn. Harold Finn stood out to me, and he was everywhere. He caught. I shouldn't say he caught everything because he had that one major drop, but he was really good when called upon. He's tough to tackle. They had him at. Line him up at quarterback for one of the plays. He was the Wildcat quarterback for a play. Like, very much so. Kevin called him the queen of the chessboard, and they used him as such. They used him kind of everywhere, which was awesome to see. And then, you're talking about adding Quinshon Judkins to the mix here, hopefully in a couple days. And now you have a really formidable rookie class and one that you can build a foundation on. Like ultimately, this game isn't gonna in the long run is not going to be like, we're not going to remember this in 3 years, but it does suck that, hey, they had an opportunity today to get to 1-0 and to really be excited about everything and you squander it. But, foundationally, I do think there's a lot of positives to take away, like you said.
Well, and I think what's great about Fandon as well, as we talk about these rookies, is that, he had the drop, but he came back. I think it was the next drive. Yeah. And he actually had a great catch, sort of Flacco got flushed out of the pocket, scrambled to his right,
yes. Yeah.
And then lobbed a ball up over like a defender to him and along the sideline for a pretty big gain. And that was like it was a cool play. Like he bounced back. He found a way to still make an impact despite the drop. He didn't let it, spiral. And that's what you want to see, especially from young players, that they have that short-term memory, that they can move on and keep trying to play and make plays for the team. And he did that today. Like there was a lot to like with Fandon, and there was a lot to like with, you highlighted all these guys with Samson. And to your point on Samson, by the way, Quinshon signed his deal yesterday. We heard all the reporting on that he could play as soon as next week. I think that process gets expedited. I know pregame I said like it feels like a lot for him to get caught up like with everything he missed in like 4 weeks in 1 week. But I'm assuming he's obviously been practicing on his own and doing all those things. I got to think he's going to play next week because the one thing that was not great about the offense, aside from the drops, was that the run game only created 49 yards on 24 attempts. They averaged 2 yards per carry. And what's nice is, like, you saw Samson's impact in the passing game, which is what his role was supposed to be when they drafted him. If you add Quinshon into the mix and you actually have a running back who can sort of create on his own and get out of some tackles and make some plays, that 1-2 punch has a chance to be really, really scary in support of this passing game.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it's perfect. That's a perfect way to look at it. And Samson, I thought was awesome today. He does get thrown around a little bit. Like when he gets hit hard.
Although he lowered his shoulder a couple times.
He did. Yeah, a couple times up the sidelines. But like even the one that's going to stick out to me, he ran like a little whip route, which we'll look at when we break down the tape. But he caught it. The ball was like on his shins, and he reached down, caught it, and got 10 extra yards on that play. I mean, it's just a lot of really good stuff from those young guys. Dylan Sampson is one of those guys that stood out and should have stood out to everybody watching this game. He's going to be a guy for a long time for the Browns.
Yeah, I think so. Like amidst all the craziness of how they lost, I think fans should feel good about the future of this team with maybe not at the kicker position, but with how these rookies performed and their roles in this offense already and how impactful they were in game one of the season where a lot of them were playing. And even Cedric Tillman, to a degree, I think should give people reasons to be excited. So there was some positives there. On the defensive side, Carson Schlesinger, another rookie, leads the team in tackles. He had a tackle for a loss. He had one QB hit in this game. He had a really nice hit that I thought they didn't give him a pass breakup on it, but it was a short pass to Chase Brown, and he completely just like destroyed Chase Brown. I don't know why he doesn't have a pass breakup in the box score, but like that was a big hit, and he got his teammates all kind of in his face celebrating after that. Mason Graham only had 3 tackles, but that defensive line early on there were some struggles. The Bengals were kind of able to keep the pass rush off of Joe Burrow. He was dinking and dunking a little bit, just taking what the defense was giving him, and that's why the opening 2 drives of the game for both these teams, the Bengals marched down the field 7-28 and on 12 plays, 68 yards to score a touchdown. And then the Browns answered with a 9-minute and 50-second drive, 16 plays, 58 yards, and they scored themselves. And part of what sort of brought that or allowed that to happen was that Burrow was just very patient, taking what the defense gave him, kind of making the easy plays, wasn't taking the big shots because the Browns were taking those away. And so I thought like yeah, the defensive line was a little underwhelming early, but they came out in the second half and they basically did what we thought they were going to do. They dominated this game. They took over this game. There was that sequence in, was it the third quarter, I think, where
I think it was maybe in the fourth quarter.
it actually might have, I'm trying to look it up real quick, but there was a sequence in the fourth quarter. Hold on a second. It would help if this.
Sack, all, and then a punt.
Yeah, 3 sacks in a row. Miles had 2 of them, and then Isaiah McGuire got the last one. You forced a punt. And it actually set the Browns up with like a really short field in the process as well. And yeah, I mean, it was like it was in the fourth quarter, 9:22 to go, 8:36 to go, 7:54 to go. You got a sack on Burrow, sack on Burrow, force a punt, and the offense set up at the Cincinnati 39 after that, after the punt return with a short field and a chance to, take the lead in the game. And that was the drive that set up the field goal that Szmyt obviously missed, the 38-yarder or the 36-yarder that he missed. And so, the defense was kind of as advertised once they kind of got into rhythm and got it rolling in the second half. And I thought Mason, as part of that defensive line, was that they took over this game.
Yeah, it was cool to see, and it was the fruition. Everything that we talked about all offseason came to fruition, and it was awesome. Miles got 2, a couple guys in there, guys who were, especially late in the game, they were at the feet of Joe Burrow for like every time he dropped back, and it proved to make an impact. I had his stats pulled up here. It was not his best game. Oh man, I closed out, and it closed out of everything. Here we go. Bear with me. Bear with me. Joe Burrow, 14 of 23 for 113 yards, 1 touchdown. I'm going to read these stats to you. T. Higgins, 3 catches for 33 yards. Noah Fant, 4 for 26. Jamar Chase, 2 for 26. Mike Gesicki, 1 for 14. Chase Brown, 2 for 8. We go through it. If I'd have told you that 4 hours ago, you'd say, how much did the Browns win by? Literally, it would be, if I said T. Higgins and Jamar would combine for 5 catches for 59 yards, you'd sign your name in permanent marker. You would sign your name in Sharpie, and that's what you would do for that. But just shocking. This is a really disappointing one, man. It's hard. It's going to be a tough one.
Yeah. And like I said, the defense held the Bengals to 7 yards.
Crazy.
7 yards. I've said it 3 times now of total offense in the second half. And yet they still found a way to lose. And according to our good friend Daniel Oyefusi of ESPN, it is the fewest yards in the second half ever by a winning team over the last 25 years. So we're talking about when offenses weren't slinging it all over the place all the time before 2000.
2000.
Least amount of yards for a team that won in the second half of a game ever, and the Browns still lost. That tells the story of the game right there. I mean, and I also think too, as frustrating as not maybe that's the wrong word, but as difficult I think as it was for the Bengals offense, I think what you did see today is the difference between a good team and a team that's clearly not ready yet. Because they found a way to win. It was an ugly game. It was low scoring, which is kind of what I predicted early on, and talking about our predictions. And by the way, my score was pretty much in play until the very end. Right, I was so mad. Thanks, Andre Szmyt. But anyway, they found a way to win. They made 2 fluky interceptions. You don't see those all the time. And they got out of here with a win. And so they start 1-0 and the Browns start 0-2. And I think that might sort of tell the story of this Browns season in general, is that some of these close games, even when they're in them, they might just not have enough to get over the finish line at times.
Yeah, and it feels like that's been the case for the Browns for the past 4 or 5 seasons. Well, I mean, the past for forever, right? It just feels like the way it's always been for the Browns, just a day late and a dollar short. And that's what it kind of felt like today, man. This is a tough one for fans to swallow. This is going to be a tough one for the guys to swallow as well, because there ain't no rest anymore for the wicked, right? You're in the NFL. You got another game in 1 week. In a game that now, if you want to try to make a run at it, you got to go try to figure out a way to win. You got to try to figure out a way to beat Baltimore, and it's going to be a tall task.
By the way, this is one of those losses that feels like it sets the stage for a coach to potentially be fired. I want to be clear here. I am not predicting that Kevin Stefanski is getting fired tomorrow. I'm not predicting he's even going to get fired this season, because I think largely Jimmy Haslam wants to give these guys a leash to dig themselves out of the Deshaun Watson disaster.
Yeah.
But when it's fundamental things, when it's dropping passes, when it's missed field goals and you cut another kicker that you had paid big money or kicker big money to last year, like these are the types of things that they cost you your job sometimes. And so it's maybe the most unfortunate way for this team to start the season with that undertone sort of lingering out there as well in a season that, I think is going to kind of be a pass largely, but we know if things go completely awry, maybe these guys aren't back here next year. Even if that's not what Jimmy Haslam's motivated to do. So I think that's an interesting part of this as well. And that doesn't get any easier when you look at the 5 games that remain in the 6-game stretch ahead, because you now have a Ravens team that has yet to play tonight. They play the Bills. You have the Packers, who are now a Super Bowl contender with Micah Parsons. You have the Lions, who were a Super Bowl contender last year, and I think people feel like they could be again. You have the Vikings, who were a playoff team last year and one of the best teams in the NFC. And then you have the Steelers, who just outdueled the Jets today in a shootout. And it looks like Aaron Rodgers is back to maybe being Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean that one's crazy. If you're watching this show, I'm certain you watched the end of that game, right? The Browns get 2 caroms off their receivers' hands that tip right to a defender. The Steelers get a carom off of DK Metcalf's face mask that bounces off of a Jets defender that bounces back into his hands.
That's wild.
So that they catch it, and then Chris Boswell makes a 60-yard field goal, and you're just like, I tweeted it out. It's just never going to happen for the Browns. It's just never like that. That type of stuff doesn't happen in Cleveland, and it never will. And because of that, it's just never going to happen. Add insult to injury, man. Just add an insult to injury. By the way, the Packers are rolling on the Lions right now. They're up 17-6 at the end of the third quarter here. So that one's coming to a close here soon.
Yeah, it's good to know because I have the Packers defense in fantasy football. Anyway, listen, I think the message in the locker room, though, was largely can't let this one get to us. It can't spiral. It's the same message we've heard from these Browns, year in and year out, that you got to sort of bounce back. The difficult thing, though, is the Ravens are waiting on the other side, and we know that's one of the best teams in football. They are Super Bowl favorites for many, including in Vegas. So it's going to be an interesting week as they sort of turn the page on this one. I don't know if we mentioned it yet, but Kevin Stefanski was asked about the kicking situation and if he'll bring up any potential competition. And his answer was that he's not ready for those types of decisions right now, or he's not ready for anything regarding that, which is similar to what he said about Dustin when before they cut Dustin Hopkins, when he was like, we'll talk about those things, I think was the exact quote that you reminded me of. So
yeah, you had me check on it. Before they cut Dustin Hopkins, the direct quote was, all of those types of decisions we will talk about, which was fairly similar to what he said today. So it would be chef's kiss. It would be Browns everything if they cut Szmyt and re-sign Dustin Hopkins tomorrow. That would be special stuff.
It would be pretty funny. I hope Dustin kept his apartment. That's all I'll say. I don't know. Well, and there's always, we're 1 week closer to Justin Tucker being available, so there's always that.
There we go.
But anyway, guys, we'll obviously have you covered throughout the week leading up to this Ravens game. Got to put this one behind them. It's a tough one to do that with. Cedric Tillman even used the phrase after the game that he's sick of losing, and that can be a motivating factor. I mean, it's not that they can't beat the Ravens. They did it last year, but I think this year's iteration of the Ravens is even better than last year's iteration of the Ravens, and you're going on the road. So it's certainly going to be a tall task. We'll see if the Browns are able to pull it off. But, yeah, it's 0-1 to start the season. Browns fans are used to hearing that. And, unfortunately, it happened in one of the worst ways possible. So any final thoughts, Megs?
Final thoughts is that I told you I was going to be in a better mood by the time the camera started rolling, and I was not. So it's apologies to me. Tomorrow's a new day. Tomorrow is a new day. We will be back. I'll be doing a film review episode. The film gets released tonight, so expect.
You should do 20 minutes just breaking down kicks.
Well, there you go. You spoiled it. We're just going to do kickers. I'm going to go in my backyard, film and record it. I'm going to line up.
You got any kicker friends that can break it down? Hey, his foot placement wasn't right, or he didn't have the right, you know what I mean? Like the laces weren't out, whatever.
Yeah, there's a peewee field about 100 yards that way. I'm going to go down there and just line up 36-yarders and just kick them. and I'll film them and we'll post them. And, you know, you tell me if it's that damn hard to do, because it doesn't seem like all that hard, but who am I?
Anthony Moeglin, your resident kicking expert on the case. You can find content like that right here at this YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. The link to our website, our new website, by the way, where we hope you'll join our community and be able to talk about the Browns every single day and every single week and every single hour and every single minute, is at the bottom there on the scroll. roundtable.io/sports/NFL/Browns. I know it's a mouthful.
A little bit more than what we're used to. But.
Yes, that's why I had to read it and sort of lean in. I'm getting old, so I can't see these things. But that's where you can find our written content, including my column that tried to bring some positivity to this loss by highlighting how great the rookies were today. I'll have another column. I don't know if I'll have it up tonight, but at least by tomorrow morning, where I'm talking about the complete opposite and how dreadful of a loss this was. So you get a little bit of both from me. I try to play it down the middle, but that's where you can find our written content. As always, we appreciate you stopping by. We appreciate you chatting with us. Hopefully this was therapeutic, but another game awaits. No rest for the weary. Browns and Ravens coming up in week 2. We'll have all coverage throughout the week for you. And as always, keep on following along with all things Cleveland Browns with Cleveland Browns Roundtable.